Hello, welcome to another process video using a Scraptastic Kit Club's kit. This time I am using the All I Want for Christmas Is You kit, which is the December kit. I just put in a shot here of my workspace. It happened to be clean, so I thought I would show you guys how I store my kits. Sorry, I zoomed in there and I should have walked in because my camera has a digital zoom and then you can't see things quite as nicely. But I just wanted to show you guys that I store the embellishments and stuff up on my pegboard, and then I store the papers in this white box. It's actually a Becky Higgins lid from one of those big packs of page protectors for Project Life stuff, and I just store my paper in it like this, and then I put a couple of containers of like little trays and bowls and stuff of embellishments on top, and then I keep my extra pattern paper underneath, and I keep my stickers, anything that's easily hung on the pegboard, I hang on the pegboard. And that way when I'm sitting at my chair scrapbooking, I usually start by looking through the paper. And then if I need to keep in mind what kinds of embellishments I have, I can just look up and see pretty much everything I have just at a glance. And between the bowls, between things being laid out in those bowls, and between the things being up on the pegboard. Now I'm just showing you guys the lights that I put on my little embellishment center that I have. I just did that over the Christmas holidays. We had an extra set of lights that we didn't do anything with. They're very old lights from IKEA, and so I just hung them up on my shelf. So again, this is the All I Want for Christmas Is You kit, which is the December kit from Scraptastic. And I want to scrapbook this picture of my daughter and I. We took a selfie on what was the first day that we played outside in the snow, the first day of real snow that accumulated to the point that you could play in it. And I'm going to want to use this mask that came with the kit. It's got these 3 snowflakes, and I'm going to want to use that as a bit of a background for this layout, just under where my layers and the photo is going to be. So not all over the paper, but just around where I think my layers are going to be. So before I put those snowflakes on the background paper, I'm going to have to figure out how big and what shape my layers are going to be. So when I cut that wood veneer paper, not wood veneer paper, it's a wood grain paper. It's from Studio Calico. I noticed that the back side of it was that really pretty pink plaid. And so I decided to use that as one of my layers too. So I matted the photo with the wood grain paper from Studio Calico, and then I flipped it over and used the pink plaid as another pattern paper. And then this paper is from Pink Fresh Studio. It's from Christmas Wishes, that blue striped one, diagonal stripe. And then the main paper that I'm using for my background is a piece of Scraptastic paper that's exclusive to the kit. So those are, I'm thinking that that's probably going to be all of my patterns, but I am going to come back to pattern paper and grab another one. Now I'm thinking about what I can do with some of the cardstock in the kit. I don't typically use cardstock as my background papers. I usually use a pattern paper as my background. So I end up with a lot of unused cardstock because the kits come with 3 and then the add-on comes with 2. So I always end up with 5 pieces of cardstock, and a lot of the times I'm not using it. So I'm trying to think about how I can make better use of the cardstock that I get each month. So I have this Christmas tree punch. It's by EK Success. And I thought I might want to make a border or a layer or something using this green pastel paper that came in the kit. It's cardstock paper, of course. And so I'm cutting a strip and I'm thinking about layering it there. I don't really love that. It looks a little too themey for me. Already going to have snowflakes on this, and I don't know. Then I thought I really wanted to use this chevron punch. And what I was doing here was I was actually cutting this for the little chevron pieces that are like the negative space pieces. But as soon as I made 1 or 2 punches, I realized that I think I'm going to actually want to use this strip. So I'm using the punch sort of the way that it was intended to be used. I usually just use it for the little chevron pieces. But today I'm going to use that strip as one of my pattern papers, basically. I'm going to do some fun things to it. So here I am again looking for some more pattern paper. I just felt like I didn't quite have enough layers in that cluster of layers there. So this plaid paper is from the Juniper Berry collection from Basic Gray. It's a very, very pretty paper. And I think it balances out because one of the pattern papers has some blue in it and the other one has some pink in it. And then the Juniper Berry one has a nice combination of both pink and blue. So it kind of brings them together. Now what I was showing you there is that my corners are all at different places. So they, instead of, completely nesting, I have my papers lined up such that the corners kind of all look sort of interesting. And now I'm picking which color mist I'm going to use to mist those snowflake shapes using the mask. And I can't decide if I want to use a pink or a blue as my main color. I also definitely want to use gold. And I'm thinking I'm going to use a blue. So the one that I ended up picking was called Sky by Mr. Huey. And I do have swatches of my mists. I don't swatch every single product that I own, like my inks and stuff, I don't bother doing. But with mists, I find that in order to know what you're dealing with, it really does help to have a swatch because they do look quite different when they're misted or sprinkled than they do when they're in the bottle. So I've decided where that goes, and then in the process of masking it off, I moved it. So I kind of repositioned it, and now I'm going to use a piece of washi tape just to hold it in place. These are sort of scrap papers. They're pieces of cardstock that I've had in my stash for years and years and years and never used. I bought them very, very cheap at Stampin' Up! When they were discontinued or something. And so I bought them in part of a color pack that I really wanted the other colors for. I didn't want that color, but I bought the combo pack just to get all the other colors. So I have them kicking around, so I thought I might as well use them for a mask. And the reason I'm masking off so much on this one is that I don't want to get overspray. So I just want the mist to show on the snowflakes for now. I am going to do some splattering later, but for now, I just want the mist to be where the snowflakes are. And if you don't mask it off, then you'll get this weird looking line along the edge, which is the line where the stencil ends, and it looks kind of weird. So I didn't want them to be too lined up, so that's why I put this one on an angle. It's going to end up looking like they're in a circular shape. And I'm just using a baby wipe and a paper towel to clean and dry my mask in between sprays. And I've decided I'm going to put a little bit of snowflake pattern up here in the top corner as well, just to add a little bit more detail. And I kind of have a sense that most of my layout is going to be in the bottom right-hand corner. So to balance that off, I will probably place a little cluster of embellishments up in the top left-hand corner. So because of that, I wanted to bring some of the snowflakes up there. And now here I am sprinkling some mists. I'm using Heidi Swap Gold and more of the Mr. Huey's Sky. And now I'm going to dry those. Just using my heat gun. I do have a cold, so I apologize if my voice is a little froggy. Then I'm just sprinkling some white, and this gives a very, very subtle look. Of course, the main background paper is white, and so you really only see the white where it lands on another color ink, but I really like the added touch. I like that added detail, even if you can't see it all that well. I like to add little things every once in a while that you have to look really carefully to see. So there I'm putting my cake box away. And, oh, I forgot I already showed you this. Can you tell how excited I am that I put lights on my embellishment center? I'm so proud of it that I posted it on Instagram and I put it in this video not once, but twice. Sorry about that. Bear with me. It's almost over. There you go. back to the process. So I have these layers of pattern paper. I really like how they're layering. I like the balance of the colors and the patterns, and I like how the snowflakes are showing behind them. And so I'm going to take a picture of how the pattern papers are layered so that I can put them back together again after I outline. Normally I outline with a black pen, and sometimes if I want a softer look, like right now I want a softer look, I use my Chamel gray pen. But here I'm using a Staedtler Tri Plus gel pen in a metallic silver color, and it's even lighter. You're going to see it there. See how it's even lighter than the Chamel gray pen, so it gives a little bit more subtle look of outlining than black or gray, and it just has a little bit of shimmer to it, which kind of picks up on the gold shimmer that's elsewhere on the layout. There's the close-up of what the pen looks like. I love Staedtler. They're my favorite kind of pens. And so I'm just going to outline this last pattern paper, and then I'm thinking about also outlining around the border of the whole entire layout. And here's a tip: when you're outlining a large paper like this that already has some mist or any other kind of media on it, whether it's mists or inks or whatever, it's a good idea to outline with your hand outside of the paper instead of rubbing your hand across the paper. Just position it so it's up higher on your workspace so that you can outline and have your wrist and your arm run along your work mat instead of running across your paper. And that way, if any of those mist splatters aren't completely dry, I'm not going to smear them across my page by accident. So I'm referring back to my phone for that picture of the layers because I really wanted them that way, and it's easy enough for me to just refer back to it rather than to try to remember how they were. I'm just straightening them out there, and then I'm lifting all of the vertical surfaces of the paper, that are exposed. I'm just rolling them up a little bit and giving them a little bit of lift. It adds a bit of shadow and texture and dimension to the paper. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to go there, so I'm just going to glue it down right away. So this layout is a little bit different in terms of the order in which I'm doing things, but it's nice to mix things up a little bit. And so there's that strip that I used, that chevron punch. I believe that punch is from Stampin' Up. I'm 99% sure that that's a Stampin' Up punch, if you're looking for it. So, that looks a little flat, but I have an idea for something I can do to mix it up a little bit. So this is a Body Shop box that I keep my embossing folders in. And I just picked one from Stampin' Up that has snowflakes all over it. I thought it kind of fits with my theme of playing in the snow. They kind of look like they could be flowers or snowflakes or doilies, or I don't know. They're just they're snowflakey when you use them on a layout like this, but they look a little bit more neutral as well. So you can see how I'm just running it through multiple times so that I can get that embossed pattern on all the different parts. Now, this embossing folder really embosses quite deeply, and so I ended up, it tore in a couple of places, but it's not too big of a deal because it'll still hold together, and I'll be gluing it down onto the paper. So I was just showing you what that looks like. And now it's got some pattern, which adds a little bit of interest to it, but I want to take it a little bit further. So you can see the pattern now. I have a Prima chalk ink here, and these used to come with the Scraptastic kits as your little free item that you get if you get 2 kits in a row. You can see that mine is quite old and it's not really giving very much ink, and it doesn't look very different between the ones I've already inked and the ones that I haven't. So I happen to have a second one of these, and so I just opened it up and I'm using that instead. Then I'm just cleaning up my nonstick mat and cleaning it a little bit more even than it was before I got it. There was some paint, and the paint just kind of comes off super easy, so I just cleaned it up a little bit more. Hopefully I'm going to zoom out pretty soon. I am pretty cautious about washing my hands multiple times when I'm using media, because I have had experiences where I have had ink on my hands and not known it, and then handled things and I end up with fingerprints and palm prints and stuff all over things. So I try to always wash my hands with a baby wipe. I keep a pretty big supply of baby wipes in my back room so that I never run out. So this is the basic structure of this layout, and now I'm just thinking about how I'm going to embellish it. So I thought about putting lots of these snowflakes on, which would make a pretty big impact to put all 4 of them or even 3 of them. And I'm just kind of looking at what other things came in the kit and what else I'd like to use for embellishing on this layout. And I pretty quickly decide that I'm not going to do that. I would have to find some way to cut those acrylic pieces, and I'm not interested in trying to figure out that. I'd probably break it in the process, so I didn't want to have one be like hanging off the edge of the page. So I'm going to think about maybe just using the one darker pink snowflake, and while I think about that decision, I'm going to do my title. So the title of this one is, the whole time that I was doing this layout, I was thinking about the Let It Snow song. But I didn't want to call it Let It Snow because I'm pretty sure I have another layout called Let It Snow somewhere in my scrapbook. And it's just so predictable. So I thought instead I'll use a phrase from that song. So my idea here was that I would make the title be Since There's No Place to Go, or Since We've No Place to Go. But then No Place to Go took up so much space that I didn't really want to, and it took up all of the space that I had kind of decided would go towards the title, and I'm missing some of the words. So instead, I decided I would call it No Place to Go, and then put the Since We've still up there, but I'm going to use a smaller font, and I'm going to have to dip into my stash to do that, because this month the kit didn't come with a small font. It just came with title fonts. Some months it comes with small fonts and some months they don't. So this just happened to be one of the months that didn't. So now that I've decided on my placement using my wax paper, now I'm going to go ahead and place these letters. These letters are thickers. They are called Doll, and they are glitter letter stickers on a white foam. And you can see that they've got that iridescent shimmer to them. So the glitter is not a colored glitter, it's like a holographic iridescent type of glitter. So it looks greenish in some lights and it looks pinkish in some lights, and then it looks just kind of clear in other lights. It's very pretty. And I'm not too worried about readability. It is white on a mostly white background, and sometimes I worry about that kind of thing, but I'm not worrying about it today. So now I'm looking through my stash and just picked out a little assortment of potential letter stickers to use for the word Since We've. And I very quickly decided on this really cool October Afternoon font. This is probably one of my very favorite letter stickers. They're just so nice. They're like line letters, very thin, very much look like they're like a draftsman or just kind of hand drawn. Black letters on a white tile. I absolutely love them. They're so casual looking and so simple and so pretty. I really feel like I want to get another package of them, but I'm controlling myself. I'm going to not do that. Because you saw that basket of stickers that I have, I probably don't need more stickers. So here we go. I'm thinking about how I'm going to put this acrylic star, it's not a star, it's a snowflake, on this layout now that I've got my title on there, Since We've No Place to Go. And I decided on a red and white twine, and then I went and got my needle, and my needle was conveniently already threaded with a pink embroidery floss that is exactly the same color as some of the other pinks in this layout. So I thought, well, who am I to argue with fate or whatever, convenience or whatever you want to call it? I'm just going to use the thread that's already threaded, because threading a needle is one of the most tedious parts of sewing on a layout, and it's already done for me. So I decided to do that, and I'm just using my paper piercer from Amy Tangerine to pre-poke my holes so that the needle goes through very smoothly. And I'm just looping the thread around each of the arms of the snowflake. And as I do it, I'm realizing that it looks pretty bland. I'm not really loving that look very much at all. And I thought, oh, I really should have done the red and white, which was my original intention anyways. So I just went ahead and pre-punched the rest of the holes. And I'm going to take out this pink because I really should have just gone with the idea that I had in the first place, instead of going for convenience of an already needled threaded needle. Yeah, that's the phrase I'm looking for. So I'm going to tie a knot in this twine and try again. So I do apologize that you have to watch this twice now, but I do think it makes a bit of a difference in how, well, it makes a bit of a difference in how it looks. Yeah. It just gives a little bit more contrast, and I mean, the snowflake itself is a very, very deep pink. It's almost red. And yeah, that other thread was just looking too boring. So baker's twine, like two-colored baker's twine, is one of my very favorite scrapbooking supplies. I have quite a bit of it, but I don't use it very often. Not quite a bit. I've got like maybe 4 or 5 spools of it, and I don't use it as much as I love to. So I'm always happy to get a chance to use some baker's twine. It's a very pretty supply. So now I have the die cut pieces. They're an ephemera pack from the, what's it called? Wish Seasons collection from Fancy Pants. So I'm just pulling out any pieces that I think might be relevant, either from a thematic perspective, and this ampersand kind of continues the title, right? Because the word before "since we've no place to go" is actually "and." So, and since we've no place to go. So I like the idea of putting an ampersand up there, but that ampersand is just a little bit too heavy. Conveniently, there was another ampersand in the same ephemera pack, and it's a lighter, like it's a smaller, thinner one. And even though it is a darker color, I think it's going to work better up there than that big, heavy wood grain printed one. I do really love the typography of the larger ampersand, and I'll probably use it on another layout because I do enjoy that one quite a lot. I love ampersands. For Christmas, I got a new mic stand and a shock mount. So even though I am swinging my legs as I talk to you guys, I'm hoping that it's not picking up. That kind of a sound used to always pick up in my process videos. You'd hear like a little bit of a background wobbly, deep, kind of like a bassy sound. And you would also hear when I pressed the space bar to stop recording. I'm hoping that you're not going to hear those things anymore. So you saw as I was just chatting there that I was just kind of trying to decide on that cluster up there. It's giving me a little bit of grief because it's not looking exactly the way that I would want it to look, but I'm going to go with it anyways. Sometimes I like to just see things through to the end, and sometimes they look better once everything comes together. So I'm not loving, what I don't love about this is all those different kinds of paper all layered together. Like it's kind of too much paper, too much flatness. And so I'm thinking about what I'm going to add to that to give it a little bit more dimension up there. So, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now. And I did staple the snowflake in place. So at least the snowflake is not going anywhere because it is stapled. So it's harder to move it. So in the meantime, I added a couple of things down in the other. Oh, just one thing. I added that little pink circle from one of the embellishment sets. I think it's from the Ellie Studio embellishment set. And then I grabbed that acrylic gift and the acrylic joy, the word joy in the circle. And that I think looks really nice with that, with the other embellishments that are beside it, that are underneath of it, I mean. So you've got like that red floral piece, and then the white pinked vellum piece, and then the joy that's acrylic. And then I ended up putting a puffy sticker that was kind of like two concentric circles in place of the O for joy. You can't quite see it because my light is making it too reflective, but hopefully you'll see it in the pictures at the end. Then I decided to put memories down here layered on top of the snowflake. And when I did that, it introduces black for the first time. And so I felt like I need to put some black up here too, so that they'll, like, I don't like just one random black thing, and there needs to be more black. And I'm like that with any kind of color that is introduced. I don't like just one of that thing to be there, unless if it's for dramatic impact. Sometimes I'll add an unexpected color just in one place just to give it a lot of impact. But I'm not wanting that here. So I went back to this black wreath. It's quite a pretty wreath, and it's light enough to be up high like that. Like, I didn't want a heavy black item to be up in the top corner because it would throw off the balance. So I like that it's black, so it meets my color needs, and it's light and airy, and kind of like the lines on it are fine. So I just kind of cut it and stuck it in underneath of things so that it looks kind of wreath-like, and it looks like I put it down first. So that brings some black up into the top corner, and the top corner is really looking quite over-embellished now compared to the rest of the layout. So that makes me think I need to add some more embellishments to the rest of the layout. But first, I'm going to journal. Let me just grab the layout so I can read you the journaling. It says, although we originally planned to go to the mall, when we heard that snow was coming, we decided to stay home and play. We love it when we don't need to go anywhere on a snow day. And this was on December 27th, which is technically is the day after Boxing Day. Boxing Day in Canada is the 26th. And there are typically really good Boxing Day sales, but in our province, the stores are not open on on 26th. It's an official holiday, and all the stores are closed. So we do our Boxing Day sales on the 27th instead of on the 26th. And I know that's a little confusing, but that's just the way it is in our province. But on the 27th, it ended up snowstorming. It wasn't a bad storm or anything, but we just thought, why go out when we don't have to go out? So that's what this layout is all about. It's about just staying home on a storm day, if you can, and just, playing around and not needing to worry about shoveling the driveway and snow tires and getting around and that sort of thing. So I have layered a couple of other embellishments down here just because, as I mentioned, the little secondary cluster up in the top left-hand corner is quite layered with lots of detail, and I need to balance that out with lots of layers and detail in this main cluster. So I'm taking some flags. I really love that cute little reindeer. It says, I'm Noel, or I'm Noel. Maybe. It's just a really, really cute little reindeer drawing. So I wanted to put that as one of the little flags on the bottom of my layers here. Yeah, sorry, I keep losing my voice, so I keep having to start and stop this recording. So I'm sorry about that. Anyhow, I needed a couple of other flags to go along with it, but there were none that I liked in the ephemera pack. So instead, I'm taking these other two shapes that are not flags, but I'm using the little triangle part just to cut them in a consistent way. I'm not usually that specific about cutting the little fishtails, but this time I decided to be. And making two flags to go on, well, one to go on either side of that little reindeer, cute little embellishment. And then I'm using the same Stettler gel pen that I used earlier on this layout for outlining, and I'm just going to outline these embellishments. I'm going to pop up that winter one It says winter is here, I think it says, and it points to the snowflake, which I think is kind of cool. And then the other one says ho ho ho, which is kind of not really relevant. There's nothing about Santa on this, and it's an after Christmas layout, but I don't care. It's cute and I like it, so I put it there. I'm gonna outline these flags as well. And finally, the red flag will get outlined as well. And then I'm going to just stick them up under some of the layers there. And I placed the reindeer first. Sorry, I keep losing my voice. I placed the reindeer first, and then I'll place the other two around it. I don't want them to be all like straight, exactly straight. I want them to be off on a very, very, very slight angle. And I think she's done. Is it done? I added 2 puffy stars there. I was talking when I added them, so they're from the Wish Seasons collection from Fancy Pants, those puffy stars. Oh yes, I'm going to stamp the date. I had a Christmas roller date stamp that I wanted to use, but I didn't really want to once I looked at all the phrases. None of them jumped out at me, and space-wise, I think just putting the date, it fits better in the spot that I had in mind, which is just kind of on that tag. What I love about that tag is it kind of looks like a toboggan, with the strings on the front of it and the fact that it's sideways and the ampersand is kind of riding the toboggan. Once I noticed that, I couldn't get that imagery out of my mind. So here are some of the close-ups. Oops, I just noticed that the ellipse, the ... which suggests that, you know, there's another line that comes after this. So I really wanted the ... because it is part of a song that has more. And really, it's kind of like, it's what isn't said is the main part of this layout. So let it snow, let it snow, let it snow is sort of the main message that I'm actually wanting to say, but I'm not saying it, which is something that I like my layouts to not always say something outright. So I use the photos, or I use imagery or themes in order to tell a story. And so that song is so famous that when you read "Since We've No Place to Go," unless if you live under a rock, you'll know that the next phrase is "Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow." So that's kind of what I wanted to have this layout be all about. So I kind of lost this whole entire file, this whole process video, and just got it back. So I don't know what I've already said and what I still need to say about this, but I hope you enjoy these photos of the close-up pictures of this layout. And leave me a comment if you've got any questions. Look at that beautiful acrylic present. Isn't that a really pretty embellishment? I love those. Those are again from Pink Fresh Studio from the Christmas Wishes collection. Anyhow, I hope you all have a really great scrappy week, and take care, and leave me a comment if you have anything to say. Thanks. Bye-bye.